Egypt is the land of the pharaohs and the pyramids, the home of mysteries and secrets of the ancient world. The city of Alexandria was established by Alexander the Great on a strategically important point on the coast of the Mediterranean 2,200 years ago. One of the miracles of the ancient world, the Pharos, the 150-meter-high lighthouse, was also built here. This is the place where the armies of Julius Caesar and later Napoleon disembarked. Cairo is a metropolis of 16 million inhabitants. Roman, Christian, and Islamic monuments still have their places among the highways and the skyscrapers. This city, one of the most densely inhabited of the world, is a modern capital and at the same time the preserver of ancient memories. Today's Giza is a southwestern suburb of Cairo. The last remaining miracle of ancient times, the Cheops Pyramid, stands here, but Giza Plateau also gives home to two other pyramid complexes, several temples, and the mysterious Sphinx. Saqqara is best known because of the staged pyramids of Djoser, but it is also the richest archaeological site in Egypt, showing us relics of 3,000 years. This was the necropolis, the burial city of the Old Kingdom. Hurghada is the proof that this country has a lot more to offer than historical monuments. This holiday resort on the coast of the Red Sea is famous for its luxurious hotels, which act as a starting point for those wanting to become acquainted with the colorful world of coral reefs. During the time of the New Kingdom, the capital of Egypt was the city of Thebes. Ramesseum, the temple of Hatshepsuts, and many others in the Valley of Kings and Queens also belong to this area, which lies on the western banks of the Nile. In contrast to Thebes, Luxor is famous for the temple complex built by Amenhotep and the monumental Amon Temple of Karnak, connected by a road of 3 kilometers bordered by sphinxes. Edfu was a flourishing center of the Old Kingdom, dedicated to Horus, the hawk god. It has the second largest temple complex after the Karnak Temple, found by the Frenchman Auguste Mariette in 1860. The trade center of Kamombo, Ombos in Greek, lies halfway between Nubia and Egypt. Its temple was dedicated to Horus and Sobek, the crocodile god. The country badly needed a dam system that would produce electricity, regulate the flow of the Nile, and create an artificial lake from river water. However, the catchment would have engulfed the Isis shrine of Philae, which was moved to a nearby island after 8 years of hard work. Abu Simbel was the site for a similarly spectacular engineering achievement, the most commonly known monument after the pyramids of Giza. The giant pharaoh statues, carved into the stone wall, were taken apart and then put together again, this time 65 meters higher. The statues were built to honor Pharaoh Ramses and his wife Nefertiti. The first European visitor of Abu Simbel, dressed in Arabian clothes, was Ludwig Burckhardt, a Swiss expert on Oriental studies, the same who founded the city of Petra, Jordan. Sharm el-Sheikh lies on the Sinai Peninsula, opposite of Hurghada. This is the new holiday capital of Egypt, which awaits vacationers arriving to see the coral reefs of the Red Sea, but it's also a perfect place to start an excursion to biblical monuments of the peninsula. Together with the Nama and the Shark Bays, Sharm el-Sheikh became a tourist center only in the last decade. Tourists can familiarize themselves with characteristic Egyptian souvenirs on the coastal shopping street of the city. The main role is played by the water pipes, or shishas, which are perfect as an ornament. The statues depict pharaohs and Egyptian gods, and the baskets of the street merchants are full of spices. Arabian clothes are very popular, as well as t-shirts printed with local motifs and bottles filled with colored sand from the desert. The caricature-like ceramics depicting the everyday Arab life are really extraordinary. One can combine an eventful though tiring archaeological tour with a holiday providing full relaxation. The hotel prices are very good, the weather very warm from spring to autumn, and moreover, the holiday centers of Egypt can be reached easily from all over Europe, since Sharm el-Sheikh has its own international airport. The level of service is usually a pleasant surprise to those who have never been to Egypt before. A name of the customer's choice can be carved or written on copper plates or papyrus with either Egyptian hieroglyphs or Latin letters. Since most hotels have their own beaches, public beaches are very rare. However, there are some in Nama Bay. The pride of the growing city is the palm tree lane behind the hotels and the brand new Islamic mosque built for the Arabs working and living here. The old market was a bazaar at the time when only fishermen lived here. Fishing nets and storm lanterns can still be purchased at the market. Formerly, it was only a vegetable and fruit market, but for the sake of tourists, the supply was broadened by copper plates and silverware, papyrus, alabaster statues, and postcards. Near the grocery store, a goat is begging and willing to be photographed, fully aware of its special status. The hotels here are made up of long buildings, not high skyscrapers. The buildings and apartments are situated in beautiful parks surrounding uniquely designed pools. The hotels have their own beaches, with not only the possibility to rent water sports equipment, but to take diving and surfing lessons as well. There are two ways of diving. The simpler one is with goggles and a pipe, and is called snorkeling, while the other one is done in a diving suit with an oxygen tank, and is called scuba diving. Both sports can be practiced in the Red Sea, and the necessary equipment can be rented or purchased. After familiarizing themselves with the local waters, divers are taken out to the open sea on a boat under the supervision of experienced divers. The sight of the coral reefs can have an overwhelming effect on those who see them for the first time. Many come back here every year to collect more and more beautiful memories. In the hotels, divers can buy underwater cameras and casings to record what they see. Luckily, the purchase of batteries and videotapes is not a problem either. There's so much to see that the film brought from home will not be enough. Those with digital cameras can copy their films or pictures onto discs in most hotels. Coral reefs are built up from the shells of marine animals. The reefs are mostly white, yellow, pink, or red. Among the strangely shaped corals, an unbelievably rich fauna of fish, crabs, and clams make their home. Those unwilling to go underwater can enjoy this beautiful sight from glass-bottomed boats and mini submarines. Such a trip can be one of the highlights of a holiday. Those who have the opportunity should take a look at Egypt's first maritime national park, Ras Mohammed, which is located at the southern tip of the Sinai Peninsula. Jeep safaris offer tourists a different kind of experience, namely the beauties of the desert. At the points of rest, locals offer their handmade souvenirs, and although there might not be enough time to travel with a camel, there should be enough to sit on one for the sake of a picture. This is the Holy Land where, according to the Holy Bible, magical things happened. Jebel Katrine Mountain is 2,637 meters high. According to legend, the 600-year-old but completely intact corpse of St. Catherine was found here, brought by angels from Alexandria. The other mountain, Jebel Musa, where Moses received the stone tablets, is only 1,570 meters high. St. Catherine Monastery is situated at its foot, Egypt's most renowned Christian place of worship. Within the walls of this fortress are the new buds of the biblical thorn. On the road, the hot air trembled glitteringly, as if it was about to catch fire and turn into dancing flames. Inside it, the sand was spinning like a whirlpool. They knew that these are sprouts, shone through by the sun, wrote Thomas Mann about the phenomenon in his book, Joseph and His Brothers. The oldest continuously inhabited monastery was established by Justinianus in 527 on the site of another monastery. The Orthodox monastery was always inhabited by monks from Greece or Cyprus. Only 20 live there today. Because of the regular attacks of nomadic tribes, the monastery was surrounded by walls. As in the monasteries of Metioros in Greece, there is only one opening in the wall, where food and other goods and rarely welcome visitors were pulled up. Now, tourists are allowed to enter if they wear decent clothing and give a small donation to the monastery. There's a cemetery belonging to the monastery outside the walls, which is interesting from the point of view that the dead here can only rest 10 years, then their bones are taken to a chamber to make room for monks who have died more recently. A well-known goal of jeep safaris is Colored Canyon near the Fayoum Oasis. This is a rock labyrinth surrounded by pink, white, and brown stone walls. The colors and materials are reminiscent of the nearby Petra in Jordan. Allegedly, this was the oasis where the Jews rested for the last time before reaching Mount Sinai. The most populated city of Africa became a modern capital of our times after the ascendance of Khedive Ismail, the viceroy, at the end of the 1800s. The center of Cairo was built on the place of tapped moors between the Nile and the center of the city. The 185-meter-high Cairo Tower gives tourists an ideal look at the city. Incredibly large amounts of archeological findings of Egypt enrich mostly museums in Berlin, Turin, Leiden, and Boston. The Metropolitan of New York and the Museum of Fine Arts of Budapest also have rich collections, but the most remarkable of all are the collections of the Louvre in Paris and the British Museum in London. However, regarding the number of items on exhibition, the winner is undoubtedly the Museum of Egyptian Antiquities in Cairo. The museum, which has almost 150,000 items, was established by the French archaeologist Auguste Mariette in 1902. A statue of the founder can be seen in front of the main entrance, together with a small pool of ancient statues. The exhibition is arranged chronologically. It can be a great help to buy the illustrated catalogue of the museum beforehand, not only for orientation, but also for advanced preparation. For those interested in archaeology and ancient Egypt, one visit is definitely not enough. It might have been better if the museums had been built near the great cities of Giza, Saqqara, and Thebes, but it is still good to see how many relics were saved by Mariette before they ended up spread around the world after falling into the hands of collectors. The most interesting pieces are the life-size statues of the princes Rahotep and Noferet, the pictures of Fayum, the pieces in the Amarna room, and the special statue of Ka-Aper, the eye of which was made from copper, quartz, and mountain crystal. There are scale models from the Middle Kingdom, private items of the great-grandparents of Tutankhamun and the mother of Cheops, animal mummies, thrones, ancient jewelry, and several servant statuettes, or usbetis, that were supposed to serve their late master in the afterlife. The most spectacular treasures of the museum are from the grave of Tutankhamun, who was discovered by Howard Carter in 1922. After Lord Carnarvon, who was financing the excavation, died, and later a worker under different circumstances, people started to talk about the curse of the pharaoh, which later became the basis of many films and novels. The house where Carter lived during the excavation can still be seen near the village of Gurna. For an extra fee, the royal mummies can be seen in a separate room. The bodies of the legendary pharaohs Thutmose, Seti, and Ramses lie here. If a captain of the invading army of Napoleon had not found a stone tablet, we would not be able to read the hieroglyphics and would not know the names of the pharaohs. The black stone tablet, based upon which French linguist Jean-François Champollion solved the secret of the hieroglyphics, became the Rosetta Stone. The word hieroglyph itself means sacred carving in Greek. The priests of Ptolemy V carved the same text in Greek and Egyptian with demotic and hieroglyphic writing. After comparing the three texts, the linguists succeeded in deciphering them. The original stone is in the British Museum. The secret of papyrus making is still alive today. The plant is first cut up, and then it is later cut into thin bands and soaked in water to make them softer. The strips are then placed on each other and pressed together. After that, characteristic Egyptian motifs can be written on the pages, cartouches, hieroglyphs, and pictures. It is a decorative item for any room and can also be a nice present. Every Oriental metropolis has its own bazaar. Shan al-Khalili of Cairo was established in 1382. Garkas al-Khalili, the head groom of the Sultan, turned this area into a marketplace, which was formerly the site of the palace of the Fatimids. The central square of the market is Midan Hussein, with the Sayyidna al-Hussein Mosque, the holiest place in all Egypt. The head of the grandchild of Muhammad is kept here. Midan Hussein is also a place for celebrations, protests, and common prayers, where believers pray 5 times a day. There are 4 Islamic holidays in the year when there's not enough room in the building, so the people gather in the open and listen to the prayers from loudspeakers. The bazaar was established around the khans, a medieval roadside inn, serving as housing for merchants and their animals, but also as storage. One of these khans is Vakhala al-Siladar, where one can still see the modest rooms looking onto the central yard. This is the area where Nobel Prize-winning writer Naguib Mahfouz was born and lived his whole life. He received the award for his depiction of the bazaar and life in Cairo. In the cave-like stores of the alleys covered with sheets, tourists are offered all the characteristic goods of the Middle East, and, if he is a good bargainer, for less than the Sharm el-Sheikh or Hurghada. One can buy clothes made of high-quality silk and cotton. There are belly dance costumes, colorful slippers, leather belts and shoes, nice little bottles and other goods made of glass, traditional Bedouin jewelry, copies of jewelry from Nubia or from the age of the pharaohs, copper plates, ivory, small chess sets, small chests, papyrus, rugs, alabaster vases, and statues. Many times after purchasing, the tourist is given small scarabs made of ceramics or alabaster for free. Many merchants sell exotic spices such as saffron, turmeric, cardamom seed, or carob. Those who live here get much of their daily food from the bazaar. Spice dealers stock flour, sugar, salt, beans and lentils as well, which serve as a base for many local dishes. There are also a few grocers here. Bread and pastries can also be bought from traveling merchants. However, the bazaar is not a market. Food markets can be found in every major district of Cairo, but there are also more and more modern stores and shopping centers. In the stores of the bazaar, one can drink coffee or hot mint tea. For coffee, there is also the Café Fishawi. This is a place which has been open night and day for more than 200 years, and most probably is the oldest cafe of Cairo, where, between mirror-covered walls, one can try a hookah or taste a fine Middle Eastern cookie. The citadel of Cairo was the home of the rulers of the land for more than 700 years. The famous warlord Saladin built his palace here in 1176, while those who followed him were adding new buildings to the previous ones. The Military Museum, the Police Museum, and the Carriage Museum are located here in the governing district, surrounded by high walls. Visitors mostly come here for the Mosque of Sulaiman Pasha and the Muhammad Ali Mosque. There's a beautiful view of the city from the citadel. The countless domes and minarets are the most beautiful at sunset. From here, one can take a good look at the cities of the dead, where the inhabitants are not too happy to see a visitor. The former graves of the necropolis are now inhabited mostly by large, homeless families from the countryside. This area, which is inhabited by several hundreds of thousands of people, is separated from the rest of Cairo by the high wall of the cemetery. After the defeat of Napoleon, an Albanian military officer, Muhammad Ali, came to rule Egypt. The reformist ruler forced architects to design his mosque, which is also his final resting place, as a copy of the Hagia Sophia of Istanbul. The building was finished in 1848. The dome in the middle is surrounded by slender minarets, little domes and towers. The rich ornaments of the interior of the mosque were characteristic of the 18th century. The clock given to Muhammad Ali by the French king Louis Philippe in exchange for the obelisk standing on Concord Square is in the clock tower of the citadel. The clock was damaged during transportation and to this day has still not been repaired. Suleiman Pasha came to power in 1517 following the defeat of the Mamluks by the Turks. His mosque was the first one in Egypt built on designs from Constantinople. Its inner yard is surrounded by a row of pillars, reminding the visitor of the cloisters of Christian monasteries. The building is covered by a dome, while the walls are ornamented with marble insets. The pyramids of Giza are now only 12 kilometers away from Cairo, at the edge of the desert, due to the enormous growth of the city. The pyramids, because of their age and size, were constantly in the center of human attention. What makes them interesting is that we are still not sure of their original purpose. Were they really built as burial chambers? Were they built by slaves or by paid free workmen? What was the technique used to move the enormous blocks of stones? There are as many questions as answers. From the time of the reinvention of the Old Kingdom, travelers, adventurers, scientists, and archaeologists have written so many books about them that they could make up another pyramid. Let us examine the undeniable facts. There are 3 large pyramids on the plateau. The one of Khufu, called Cheops in Greek, the one of Chephren, and Mycerinus. There are also several smaller pyramids for the queens, and there are the mastaba tombs, temples, and the Great Sphinx. The greatest of them is the Cheops, which, with its 147-meter height, was the largest building on Earth until the building of the Eiffel Tower. The base is 230 meters on a side, and is made of 2.5 million stones weighing 2.5 tons apiece. It was originally covered by white marble, and its now flat top was capped by a golden pyramid. The setting and the order of the pyramids are proof of accurate astrological knowledge. The Pyramid of Chephren is 15 meters smaller on each side, and the marble cover can still be seen on it. The smallest pyramid is only half the height of the bigger ones, but it must have been beautiful, covered by pink stone. Despite the advanced technology of the 21st century, we hardly know more about the interior of the pyramids than 150 years ago. The sarcophagi in the burial chambers were already opened in ancient times. The mummies and everything else were taken away. Today, one cannot climb to the top of the pyramids, and the number of visitors who can enter at the same time is limited. In 1954, several ships were found deep in the sand near the southern edge of the Great Pyramid. Maybe each pharaoh had his own barge, which was placed in front of the pyramid after his death? Archaeologists worked for 14 years on the one in best condition before they were able to restore all 1,200 parts and put it together. The ship was called the Solar Barge, and it is exhibited in a hall built just for that purpose. Probably its original purpose was to transport the body of the pharaoh from Memphis to Giza to prepare him for his final journey in the temple. The barge symbolized the ship which transported the pharaoh to Osiris, the lord of the underworld. The soul of the deceased, according to the Book of the Dead, embarked on a journey to the underworld, the last stop of which was the weighing of the heart. It was done by the jackal-headed god Anubis, in front of Osiris and the other gods. Those who were of true heart could receive eternal life. The solar barge has another meaning according to Egyptian mythology. Apophis, the snake symbolizing evil, lives in the sky and attacks the barge on which the gods travel every day. The gods defeat the snake every day, but every day the battle begins anew. Near the Valley Temple is the Sphinx, carved from limestone. Human imagination has always been interested in the statue with the mysterious smile, which has become the symbol of silence and secrecy. The body of the lion is the symbol of the king's power. The scarf on its head and the false beard are those of the pharaohs. The face most probably represents the face of Chephren. The broken beard was found by Captain Caviglia, who took it to the British Museum. Sand covered the statue once again, but when Mariette found it, he also found the Valley Temple. The proverb, namely that anywhere we dig in Egyptian soil we will find a relic, seems to be true. Saqqara was the burial mound of Memphis. There are monuments from at least 3,000 years on this 7-kilometer-long limestone plateau, from the earliest graves to the monastery of the Copt Christians. These buildings, which were covered by sand, were excavated by Auguste Mariette, but there are new findings even today. Imhotep surrounded the Djoser pyramid with a 10-meter wall with false doors. There were bastions and tabernacles, while within the wall were shrines, halls, and chapels. The wall was ornamented by a cobra's head. The corridor leading to the yard is bordered by 40 pillars, imitating palm trees. The largest and most well-known monument of Saqqara is the pyramid of the pharaoh Djoser. This is the first such structure to be called pyramid. Before that, people buried their dead in mastabas. The design of the pyramid is associated with Imhotep, who was not only the greatest architect of the Third Dynasty, but also a high priest and a general of the pharaoh. It was probably his idea to put 6 smaller and smaller square mastabas on top of each other, which led to the shape of the pyramid. His work set an example for royal architects for several centuries. Later, the stairs of the pyramid were filled up and its sides were covered to achieve a perfect pyramid shape. In the northeastern corner of the area, an extremely deep cistern was discovered. From the bastion above it, the burial ground of the St. Apis bulls, the Serapeum, can be seen perfectly, as well as the distant pyramids of Giza. It's widely known that all European powers, the Germans, the Italians, but mostly the French and the British, were present at the rediscovery of Egypt. Those who are interested in Egyptology might know the names of Denon, Champollion, Belzoni, Mariette, Brugsch, Lepsius, Gaston Maspero, and of course, Howard Carter. Let's not forget the Italian Girolamo Sagato, who found the entrance of the pyramid in 1820 while drawing a map. The oldest graffiti in the world originates from the 12th century BC. It can be found on the wall of one of the side buildings under the protection of a glass case. If one were to do something like this today, it is possible that the author would visit the local jail sooner than his graffiti would be protected by a glass case. The guards are there to prevent any kind of destruction. The serdab is the closed statue chamber of tomb chapels or mastabas, from where the pharaoh's statue looks out to the outside world. This is how his soul preserved its relationship with the living. There is the original entrance on the southern side of the pyramid, while on the northern one there is a new one, cut by archaeologists. The burial chamber is found beneath the pyramid, around the middle of the building. The maze of corridors and chambers is almost 5 kilometers long and is probably connected to the cistern. There are lots of corridors which have not been fully discovered. The Pyramid of Teti looks like a piece of rubble from the outside, but is very interesting on the inside. There aren't too many pyramids which are open to the public. The walls are covered with text and the ceiling depicts the night sky. The greatest mastaba is the one of Mereruka and his wife, the son-in-law and daughter of Teti. One can even see Mereruka himself in the complicated mastaba, which has more than 30 rooms, as his life-size statue steps out of a door. There were several claims which stated that grave robbers instantly fled as they saw the statue in the dim light. Almost every square meter of the walls is covered by engraving, pictures, or hieroglyphs, which introduce viewers to life in ancient times: hunting, fishing, agriculture, animal husbandry. In other pictures, one can see the scenes of raising a child, celebrations, and potters at work. As a holiday resort, Hurghada has a somewhat longer history than Sharm el-Sheikh. This resort, which stretches from Safaga through the Makadi Bay until Dahar, is a coast of 25 kilometers, which is now full of beautiful hotels and apartments. Hurghada has two centers, Saqqara and Dahar. Transportation is solved by buses of the travel agencies, by taxis, or by cheaper, larger taxis. In the city, there is an aquarium and maritime museum, despite the fact that it does not require much effort at all to encounter the creatures of the Red Sea in their natural habitat. Dahar is mostly known for its shops and restaurants. There are not too many monuments. Well known is the newly built Islamic mosque, which was consecrated only a few years ago, but looks as if it were several hundred years old. The modest church of the Copts is much older. The Greeks called the Egyptians Aegyptos, hence the Arabic Gipt, which became Copt through the centuries. According to the chronicles, it was Saint Mark who brought Christianity to Alexandria in the 1st century. The 5 patriarchs parted ways with the Catholic Church in 451. Today, around 7% of the population belongs to this denomination. All the hotels are on the seaside and have their own beaches and harbors. The hotels try to please their visitors in all kinds of ways. There are small pools, slides near the larger pools, but children's pools and the jacuzzis are also everywhere. Besides European cuisines, they also offer Arab dishes, mostly in imitation Bedouin tents. One can enjoy a hookah pipe and belly dancing here. If there's no separate children's restaurant, there is a children's menu. Hosts and program directors take care of sports and recreation, and there's a different kind of production each evening. Glass-bottomed boats depart from several hotels to the nearby uninhabited Giftun Island. The Red Sea has one of the largest fish populations on Earth. There's an opportunity to see playful dolphins during such a trip, since 4 dolphin subspecies live here. Besides the uncountable number of corals, starfish, mussels, and crabs, there are 3 kinds of turtles, calamaris, octopi, jellyfish, and rays living here. The most beautiful of the fishes are the 10-centimeter long yellow, turquoise, orange, or blue fishes that swim around the coral reefs. The most well-known are the sailfish, the clownfish, the kingfish, and the unusually shaped stonefish. Tourist buses can stop in the little oases, which are the modern descendants of former khans. Clay huts in the shade of domestic buffaloes give the impression that nothing has changed for several thousand years. The name Luxor, situated on the eastern bank of the Nile, originates from the Arabian El Qusur, which means fortress. There are only two remaining areas from the wealthy sacred city and home of several dynasties, the areas of the Luxor and Karnak temples. The Karnak temple is an astonishing view with its incredible size, the endless rows of pillars, halls, and yards. Its first stones originate from the Middle Kingdom, while the pylons of the entrance were put in their place 13 centuries later. During the Old Kingdom, the main god was the fighting Montu. However, the flourishing Amun cult of the Middle Kingdom completely overshadowed it. The Holy Trinity of Thebes consisted of Amun, his wife Mut, and his son Hansu. Amenhotep and Thutmose, first in a long row of pharaohs, erected new shrines on which they depicted themselves as the sons of Amun. The annual flooding of the Nile was the most important event in the life of Egypt for thousands of years, right until the building of the dam at Assuan. During the Apet celebration, the priests and the people hailed the pharaoh, reborn as Amun's son, from ornamented barks. This celebration is held even today on the anniversary of the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun. The most monumental part of the Karnak temple is the labyrinth of 134 pillars. The pillars are covered with hieroglyphs from top to bottom. The heads form an open lotus blossom, and in their time were very colorful. This can be seen in pictures by David Roberts, the Scottish painter who was born in 1796 and was a member of the Royal Academy, painted in Italy and Spain before reaching Morocco through Gibraltar. From this moment he became the most renowned painter of the archeological and the architectural miracles of the Arab world. His album about Egypt and the Holy Land is a good account of the excavation works of the 19th century. The cartouches painted or carved on the walls were like signatures. They contained the birth and coronation name of the pharaohs and the list of his wars, victories, and noble deeds. The chronicles, written in hieroglyphs and ornamented by embossments, can be treated as messages carved into stone. There are many of such messages, especially in Karnak. To those who want to get to know Karnak stone by stone, we suggest photo albums by Alberto Ciliotti, Giorgio Agnese, and Maurizio Rei, and of course, the detailed description of the Polish author Kazimierz Mikolowski. The famous English journalist Paul Brunton has written about the pyramids in the 1930s in connection with occultism. The German Herbert Illig, author of Phantom Time Hypothesis, deals with the technical details of construction, as does Hungarian István Sörös, whose theory was that the Egyptians used the energy of water to move the stones. Wojtek Zamorawski has written a synthetic work about the Noble Pyramids. There were a lot of thrillers based in Egypt, like the one from Agatha Christie, or father of the Doctor thrillers, Robin Cook. Philippe Vandenberg and Christian Jacquot have also written stories set in ancient times and stories about the 19th century excavations. The trilogy by Wilbur Smith is similar to these. Let's not forget the classics, The Pharaoh from Boleslaw Prus, and Sinuhe by Mika Waltari. Today, the works of Karen Essex and Paul Doherty are fashionable. The list is endless. One can find the complete bibliography in libraries. It can be seen that the several thousand-year-old buildings were more colorful than we had thought. Of course, the paint has already disappeared from the carvings, so the formerly orange, yellow, red, blue, and green-colored buildings now have a similar sand-like tone. The tourists of our days should also not forget to walk around the dung beetle, allegedly the bringer of good fortune. Probably many of them wish to have a chance to return to Egypt. Countries of the Middle East are famous for their good quality rugs. A part of these were used in the tents of the wandering tribes of the desert, but they're also popular in Arab homes and palaces. During the last decade, the locals started to manufacture in larger quantity since tourists were happy to take rugs home. One can buy rugs somewhat cheaper in the bazaars of the guilds, which are schools at the same time, where children are taught to spin a rug in order for them to have a profession by the time they grow up. The merchants have lots of rugs in different sizes, quality, and price, so probably everybody can find one. It flows through old, hushed Egypt and its sands like some grave, mighty thought threading a dream, wrote the English poet James Leigh Hunt in his poem entitled The Nile. Herodotus conceived of the relationship between the land and the river with the following words: Egypt is the gift of the Nile. The Nile, with its 6,600-kilometer length, is the longest river on earth. Its twin sources are in the heart of Africa, near Lake Victoria. It's obvious that the old Egyptians looked at the river as a symbol of life, fertility, and abundance. Even today, only the banks of the river are inhabited, which means only 3% of the whole country. The Nile had its own god, Hapi, who has been captured on many papyruses and paintings. Besides tourist boats, one can see a lot of characteristic Arab boats on the water. The smaller ones are called felucca, while the larger ones are called dhow. For the painter, nothing is more beautiful than these water vehicles which slide in the wind with full sails, wrote David Roberts. There are not only sailboats, boats, and fishing boats sailing on the water, but also floating hotels. The Nile excursions, which have been very popular for several decades, depart from Luxor towards Assuan. As we all know from Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile, it was already very stylish to go on one of these journeys decades ago. On the western banks of the Nile, our road takes us to the Colossi of Memnon. The giant statues of Amenhotep III protected the entrance of a temple, but there is nothing left of it. In Roman times, the 18-meter-high statues were damaged by an earthquake. The sound of the wind blowing through the cracks of the statue was believed to be the wailing of the dawn goddess who mourned Memnon. Archaeologists Auguste Mariette and Heinrich Brugsch first started to look for royal tombs near western Thebes, in the Valley of Kings, and in the Valley of Queens. Here is the office of Zahi Hawass, who is the best-known Egyptologist of our time. The Temple of Ramses III, the shrines of Mereptah and Thothmes IV, and the building of the Ramesseum are to be found along the road leading from the Medinet Habu village to Dra Abu el Naga. The giant statue head lifted out by Belzoni became the pride of the British Museum. The restoration of the Ramesseum and the temples, which requires a lot of money and time, is still going on. The one that is already finished is the Temple of Hatshepsut, which was renovated by Polish archaeologists. At the beginning of the 18th dynasty, this queen ruled like a man in every sense. She even wore the fake beard of the pharaohs, and with the exception of the Bull of Egypt, claimed all titles as well. Although she did not start any war campaigns against foreign lands, she did start some expeditions. Her foster son and heir, Thutmose II, hated her so much he had her name taken off all cartouches, her pictures painted over, her statues destroyed, and tried to make it seem as if she had never existed. Her temple, however, remained intact for thousands of years. The terraced building was designed by the courtier of Hatshepsut, Senenmut, whose grave was found near the lower levels. The kings of the Old Kingdom, the 3rd to 6th dynasties, built themselves large pyramids, while the pharaohs of the New Kingdom, the 18th and 19th dynasties, protect their bodies in hidden tombs carved in cliffs. This is how the Valley of Kings, the necropolis near Thebes, which has 62 graves, came into existence. They avoided any kind of outer ornament, instead cutting large stones in front of the entrance of the graves. Now we know that it was of no use, since there were almost no tombs that would remain undisturbed in ancient times. The priests were so afraid of grave robbers that they hid 10 mummies, among them those of Hatshepsut, Amenhotep I, and Ramses I, in a well-hidden chamber. It was also found by the 19th century by grave robbers, not archaeologists. 23 years later, a French archaeologist found 9 royal mummies in the side chamber of the tomb of Amenhotep II. So the actions of the grave robbers were the direct and indirect reason that no untouched tombs were found. The body of Tutankhamun, who died at the age of 19, likely due to murder, was not considered that important, or was just simply forgotten, so his grave was the only one which was opened in 1922 by Howard Carter. The relics found in his grave are the most cherished treasures of the Cairo Museum. Alabaster is a very fine, crystal-like gypsum. It can be gray, yellow, blue, but the most valuable is white. The largest deposits are in Egypt and Sicily. This vase is not water-resistant, its walls are thin and porous. The finished vase is heated in a furnace, then treated with wax. That's why it has such a shiny surface. To get to know a country, one has to know the cuisine as well. The Egyptian cuisine reflects the geographical situation of the country. It's composed of African, Arab, and Mediterranean elements. The gyros of Turkish and Greek snack bars are called shawarma. Kebabs are small pieces of meat fried over charcoal. Kofta is similar to the Turkish küfte and cevap of the Balkan countries. It's a spicy meat, sometimes in the form of balls, sometimes as sausages. Instead of pork, they usually eat lamb and poultry, mostly grilled. The unleavened bread here is similar to that of Jordan, Morocco, and Tunisia. The locals eat a lot of beans and lentils. Tamia is a cake made of bean puree. Full is also a bean puree with lemon and olive oil. Dolma are filled grape leaves, but other vegetables like pepper, tomato, and eggplant can also be filled. The locals eat a lot of vegetables, very popular as a side dish as well as salads. There's always a large selection of salads in restaurants. From among the sweets, the baklavas are the best known, but for example there's also umali, raisins and nuts dipped in sweet milk and then put into pastry. Instead of a dessert, one can eat bananas, figs or dates. After the meal, one is offered Turkish coffee or hot mint tea. The larger hotels offer European cuisines, and there are only a few local specialities. The former capital of Egypt, Memphis, was established by Pharaoh Menes during the First Dynasty. On the dawn of the New Kingdom, Memphis and Thebes were both capitals. According to the Rosetta Stone, it was an important religious center at the time of the Ptolemies. It was forgotten during the time of the Mamluks, and plunderers destroyed it. Its statues were scattered, the Nile flooded it several times and covered it with its drifts. Memphis, which was called a flourishing capital by Herodotus, has since become invisible. Whatever remained, for example the Sphinx depicting Amenhotep II, can be seen in the Palm Garden in an open-air museum in the village of Mitraina. Despite all that the 4,000 years have done to it, there are many wonderful things to be found here which are incomprehensible to the visitor and cannot be described by the most eloquent of speakers. The more you watch it, the more you wonder, the more you look at it, the more delight you find in it, wrote Abd el-Latif. The originally 14-meter and 80-ton statue of Ramses II is the world's largest calcite statue. It used to stand on Maidan Ramses in Cairo for a long time. However, due to the increased traffic, the original one was taken back to Memphis and was replaced by a copy on the famous square. Now it's in an exhibition hall in Memphis and reminds one of the great beauty of that city.